You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. Today's topic is the Tower of Babel. If you've ever wondered why humans speak so many different languages, or why some group projects are doomed to fail, this story might just be your origin myth. Found in Genesis 11, 1-9, the tale is only 9 verses long, but it's packed with linguistic confusion, architectural ambition, and divine disruption. The generation after Noah's flood settles in the land of Shinar, ancient Mesopotamia, and decides to build a tower with its top in the heavens. Their aim? To make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered. But God sees the project and famously confuses their language, halting construction and dispersing the people across the earth. That's where we get the name Bavel, Babylon, which in Hebrew is linked to the root balal, meaning to confuse. It's the ultimate too-big-to-finish project. But is this just a fable about hubris? Or is it a commentary on unity, language, and human ambition? Let's break it down brick by brick. In the Torah's telling, the Tower of Babel emerges in a world that's finally rebuilding. The floodwaters have receded, Noah's descendants are multiplying, and humanity is united, not just in population, but in speech. Genesis says, "The whole earth was of one language and of one speech." That's rare in biblical narrative. Peace, stability, no wars or famines. So what went wrong? According to the story, the people settle in Shinar and devise a bold plan. Let us build a city and a tower, with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. The Hebrew phrase, na'aseh lanu shem, let us make a name, is key. Is it pride? Insecurity? A survival instinct? Commentators have long debated whether the sin was arrogance or the desire to avoid dispersion. Either way, they used new technology, fired bricks instead of stone, to launch the world's first skyscraper project. Its innovation meets ambition. But the Torah implies that this unity, while efficient, might also be dangerous. God's response is striking and almost playful. "Let us go down," says the divine voice, "and confuse their language so they won't understand one another." This line flips the power dynamic. While humans try to go up, God comes down. It's not just a story of divine punishment, it's about human limitation. The builders can't communicate anymore, so the project stalls. The city becomes known as Bavel, the place of confusion. But here's the twist. There's no fire or brimstone, no plagues, floods, or smiting, just linguistic breakdown. And yet, this disruption is arguably just as powerful. With a few scrambled syllables, the entire civilization is rerouted. It's divine bureaucracy at its most elegant. The story ends with God scattering people over the face of the whole earth. What began as a united project turns into cultural diversity. And maybe that's the point. Unity in this story isn't always ideal. Sometimes division leads to growth, variety, and humility, and maybe a few good translation jobs. Jewish commentators across centuries have read the Tower of Babel in wildly different ways. Rashi, drawing on Midrash, suggests the people feared another flood and wanted to build a tower tall enough to escape divine punishment. Others say they wanted to storm heaven and challenge God. In Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, a midrashic collection, some builders are portrayed as so obsessed with the tower that if a brick fell, they wept. But if a person died, they didn't care. That critique isn't about engineering, it's about dehumanization. When a project becomes more important than people, something has gone deeply wrong. Other rabbis focus on the sin of enforced uniformity. Everyone thinking the same, speaking the same, acting the same. It may sound harmonious, but it can stifle individuality. The rabbis weren't against cooperation. They were against the erasure of human difference. The tower becomes a cautionary tale about groupthink, blind ambition, and tech without ethics. In other words, it's an ancient TED Talk in narrative form. And then there's the linguistic angle. The Tower of Babel is the Bible's explanation for why there are so many languages in the world. It's not a scientific account, but it's a powerful metaphor. Language isn't just communication, it's identity. By confusing tongues, God creates diversity. That's not necessarily a punishment. It could be a feature, not a bug. The Zohar, Judaism's foundational mystical text, sees language as cosmic. Words shape reality. So to split speech is to split consciousness. Kabbalists even link the idea to the shattered vessels of creation, multiplicity emerging from oneness. In modern Jewish thought, this becomes a lesson in pluralism. We're not all meant to be the same. Babel teaches us that understanding difference, linguistic, cultural, personal, is the real test of unity. And yes, there's even a blessing in Jewish liturgy for hearing foreign languages. What began as a moment of confusion becomes an opening for connection.
Introducing America's Workforce Academy, built by Meta. Paid training, a job, and a path to America's future. Because the future is for everyone. Learn more at meta.com/America's Workforce Academy.
Not every miscommunication is a curse. Sometimes it's the beginning of something richer. The story also has political overtones. Some read Babel as a critique of empire, especially Babylon itself. In later Jewish history, Babylon becomes symbolic of exile, oppression, and idolatry. So this origin story subtly undermines imperial ambition. The Grand Tower, built to unify and centralize, collapses under the weight of its own control. It's a warning about authoritarianism wrapped in narrative form. Philo of Alexandria, a Jewish philosopher living in Roman times, interpreted the tower as human arrogance, hubris, trying to climb the heavens. Maimonides, the rationalist, saw it as a myth cloaking deeper truths about human behavior. In modern times, thinkers like Martin Buber and Abraham Joshua Heschel saw the story as a call to relationship, not domination. We're not meant to build towers to the sky. We're meant to build bridges to one another. Babel becomes a metaphor for every time we forget that people matter more than power. It's not just a tower story, it's a mirror. So what if we take it literally? Some traditional communities do. They believe there was a real tower in a real place, and that language was literally scrambled overnight. And archaeologically speaking, there was a famous ziggurat, stepped pyramid, in Babylon known as Etemenanki, which may have inspired the tale. But most Jewish scholars today see Babel as a parable, not a blueprint. The lesson isn't in the bricks, it's in the behavior. It's about the dangers of unchecked ambition, especially when it masquerades as unity. It's about what happens when we try to erase human difference in the name of control. And it's about the power of words, both to build and to confuse. Literal or not, the story functions like a mythic MRI. It shows us the structure of our own social tensions. That's why it endures. Not because we expect to find the tower, but because we keep finding ourselves inside the same story. In modern Jewish life, the Tower of Babel continues to inspire. It's echoed in debates about assimilation, identity, and globalization. Are we better off as one giant melting pot or as a mosaic of distinct voices? Babel argues for the mosaic. It teaches that confusion can be creative, that scattering isn't always a tragedy, that difference, when respected, becomes a source of strength. In Jewish education, this story is often used to talk about communication, empathy, and the importance of understanding others. It's even been invoked in discussions about the internet, one big tower of communication, constantly at risk of collapsing under misunderstanding. Some modern commentaries read it as a warning against technological overreach. We can build incredible things, but if we lose sight of human dignity, it all falls apart. So whether we're coding apps or climbing ladders, Babel reminds us, progress without humility is just another doomed tower. And if you think the Tower of Babel has nothing to do with your life today, try sitting in a family group chat where 3 generations are texting in English, Hebrew, Yiddish, and emojis. That's Babel. Try collaborating on a Zoom call with 5 people across 3 time zones who all thought the deadline was yesterday. That's Babel. Try raising teenagers. Definitely Babel. The story isn't ancient history. It's a constant human experience. But instead of seeing linguistic or cultural confusion as a curse, Jewish tradition nudges us toward a more optimistic view. The world needs many voices. The challenge is learning to hear them. Maybe the real test isn't avoiding Babel, but thriving in it, learning how to build something together, even when we don't always speak the same language. That's the Jewish takeaway. Don't build towers to heaven. Build communities with open doors and open hearts, and maybe keep your bricks a little closer to the ground. Thanks for listening to this episode of Everything Jewish, 10 minutes at a time. If you liked it, share it with someone who needs a reminder that misunderstanding each other is as old as Genesis and just as fixable. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, or better yet, subscribe on your favorite podcast app to get early access and bonus content. Until next time, don't climb too high without checking the foundation.